In the chaos of the Nigerian Civil War, one name struck fear into the hearts of the Biafran soldiers and commanded fierce loyalty from his men. Brigadier General Benjamin Adekunle, better known as the Black Scorpion. Loved by some, feared by many, and controversial to this day, Adekunle led with boldness, brutality, and a determination to end the war at all costs. Hi guys, welcome to Africa's Historic. On today's episode, we dive into the life, the battles, and the legacy of Brigadier Benjamin Adekunle, a man who became a legend in Nigeria's bloodiest conflict. Who is the Black Scorpion? Why was he called the Black Scorpion? What made him a hero to some and a villain to others? Let's find out. Do stay tuned and enjoy the ride. Maja Benjamin Adekunle was born in Kaduna, Nigeria, on June 26, 1936, into a devoted Christian family. His father, Thomas Adekunle, was from Ogbomoso in present-day Oyo State, and his mother, Amina Theodora, was from Bajama tribe in Adamawa State in northern Nigeria. Adekunle could communicate in the three major languages, Yoruba, Hausa, and Igbo, which later became an asset for his operation during the Civil War. He attended Roman Catholic Primary School in Ida before moving on to Dekina School and then Benue on scholarship in 1947. Adekunle also enrolled in Okene Middle School, now known as Abdulaziz Atta Memorial College Okene, Kogi State, for his secondary school education in 1951. Adekunle was recruited by the British colonial officials into the Nigerian Army at the age of 22 after passing his school certificate examinations in 1958. After passing his first chosen career entrance examinations, he moved to Ghana's Tertiary Institute for pre-selection of prospective military officers. Between 1959 and 1960, Adekunle went to the Royal Military Academy, Sandhurst, in United Kingdom for a 2-year training program. He also attended School of Infantry, Warminster, and later the School of Tactical Wing, United Kingdom. On December 15, 1960, Benjamin Adekunle was commissioned as a second lieutenant and the platoon commander and assigned to the 1st Battalion Queen's Own Nigerian Regiment for his first United Nations peacekeeping mission in Kasai Province of the Democratic Republic of Congo. In 1962, Adekunle was appointed the aide-de-camp to Sir Akanibiam, governor of the Eastern Region. In 1963, Adekunle was promoted to the rank of captain and assigned as a staff captain A to the Nigerian Brigade headquarters in Luluabob under Brigadier Ogundipe. In 1964, Major Adekunle attended the Defense Services Staff College in Wellington, India. After returning to Nigeria in May 1965, he was temporarily appointed Adjutant General at Army Headquarters, replacing Lieutenant Colonel Yakubu Gowon. Adekunle later handed over the position to Lieutenant Colonel James Palm and was posted to his old battalion, 1st Battalion in Enugu, as a commander. He was there till the flare-up of the Nigerian Civil War, which began as a police action and quickly escalated into an undeniable military activity when the Biafrans attacked the Midwest region. As part of the war plans, commanders were appointed. In 1967, Adekunle took command of the Lagos garrison as a substantive lieutenant colonel. The Civil War lasted from June 1967 to January 15, 1970. Gowon's war strategy following the Biafran invasion of the Midwest region was a shocking maneuver that the Nigerian federal troops had not projected. As part of his strategy to crush the Biafrans, he assigned some of his top military men to 3 key roles. First, Mohammed Shua, a colonel at the time, was the Federal Army's 1st Division commander. His orders were to march his troops from northern Nigeria into Biafra major cities like Nsukka and Ogoja. Second, Colonel Murtala Mohammed, commander of 2nd Division, was given direct orders to win back Benin and other parts of the Midwest occupied by the Biafran army, and then the Cross and River Niger into Onitsha and cities such as Nsukka and Ogoja. 3. The Nigerian Army 3rd Infantry Division, later renamed 3rd Marine Commando, due to the unusual riverine and creek operations carried out in the Midwestern River State and other similar ones in southeastern states, was led by Benjamin Adekunle. Benjamin Adekunle, known within the army circle as Black Scorpion, and Benji as a man of incredible intricacy. As a tactical planner, he represented a furious, brave banter at both national and international levels. Benjamin always stood out among his peers whenever he was confronted by the enemy, as evident during battles in South Nigeria's creeks and mangrove forests. During the Nigerian Civil War, Benjamin Adekunle's role was described as a war criminal or villain by the Biafrans, owing to the genocide committed against the people of the region, and also as a hero by the Nigerian Federal Military Government. Akinyi Osoye, a journalist at The Guardian, considers war as a bloody affair and an arena where the survival of the fittest prevails. Certain researchers have observed Black Scorpion's activities in the domain of the ending of the conflict and defending the Nigerian state, which was on the verge of disintegrating. But on the other hand, the Biafran secessionist as a heartless hunting dog of the Nigerian federal government and a Black Scorpion who was to be blamed for the sustained destruction and killing of thousands of Igbos during the conflict. If you find this video worthwhile, please take out some time to like this video and subscribe to the channel, as it goes a long way in supporting our efforts. Thank you. Now let's get back to the video. Benjamin Adekunle was not only portrayed as a villain by the Biafran secessionists, but also accused of genocide during the Civil War. Korai, the author of the 2013 journal Biafra and his discourse on the Igbo genocide, believed that systematic attempts were made to exterminate the Easterners, including women and children. The pogroms were said to have resulted in the killing of between 36,000 and 42,000 people. As a result of these pogroms during the war, over 1 million Igbo died. It was also alleged that the Nigerian troops, led by Adekunle, deliberately targeted Biafran civilians during the war. The bombings of civilians and methods of operations were planned and executed to annihilate the Igbos, according to Korai. As commander of the federal troops, Adekunle advanced his men towards the Niger River. Many people, according to Bed and Otaneli, spoke of forced intercourse, abduction, and forced marriages by the federal troops. When the federal troops took over Calabar in 1968, the 3rd Marine Commando by Benjamin Adekunle was accused of killing 1,000 to 2,000 Igbos, majority of whom were civilians. It was also claimed that the federal troops committed numerous atrocities in Calabar region. According to the Times of London, on 2nd August 1968, the Nigerian forces opened fire and murdered 14 nurses and patients in the wards. This incident occurred in Oji River. Numerous lives were said to have been lost by Nigerian soldiers in Uyo and Okigwe. According to Chinua Achebe, in his book There Was a Country, Port Harcourt fell to the Nigerian federal troops on May 12, 1968, after several weeks of sustained air, land and sea bombardment, a period reportedly characterized by military atrocities such as forced intercourse and looting. There were numerous arguments advanced in support of Nigeria's military genocide. For instance, Dan Jacobs, the author of The Brutality of Nations, discovered a paragraph from the Washington Post editorial in his research. He states that one word to describe the Nigerian military government's policy towards secessionist Biafra. That word is genocide. The Nigerians' decision to prevent food supply to Biafra from such as the international community of Red Cross and other relief organizations is a heinous one. They used evidence from Adekunle's scandalous remarks to Dutch journalists in 1968 to prove that he authorized indiscriminate killing and genocide. Emefiana's book, In Biafra, Africa Died, The Diplomatic Plot War, captured Adekunle's comments as follows on page 156, and I quote, "I would rather not see the Red Cross, no Caritas, no World Council of Churches, no Pope, no missionaries, or a United Nations representative. I need to forestall even Igbo having one piece of meat before their capitulation. We take shots at all that moves, and when our soldiers walk into the center of the Igbo territory, we shoot at all in any event, even including non-moving objects." This statement by Adekunle was regarded as a war strategy to save Nigeria from disintegration at the height of the war, whereas it was regarded as a perpetrated war crime against the Biafran people. This evidence was presented to Stern magazine during the interview. Randolph Bowman was invited to interview Adekunle. When asked if he sympathized with the Igbo, Adekunle told the German reporter, "The British have shown me another word, sorry. That is how I would like to respond to your question. I didn't need this war, but I want to win it. As a result, Igbos must be killed." The two Canadian diplomats were said to have reported genocide against the Igbos during the Civil War. After visiting the war-torn eastern region, it was stated that anyone who says there's no evidence of genocide is either in the pay of Britain or a deliberate fool. An American historian, Arthur Schlesinger Jr., also described the Nigerian Civil War as a genocide against the Igbo people. He stated, "The Biafran people's tragedy has now reached catastrophic proportions. An estimated 6,000 Igbo tribesmen have died of starvation, the majority of whom were children. Hundreds of thousands died of hunger as a result of the Biafran people's inability to obtain adequate food." Many commentaries in both national and international media discussed Adekunle's handling of the war. His activities as the commandant of the 3rd Marine Commando epitomized the boundless conviction among those covering the conflict that the divisional commandant used outright power and authority during the conflict, even to the dismay of his boss, General Yakubu Gowon, who was forced to monitor him. Adekunle's actions during Civil War were portrayed as heroic by the Nigerian government. Benjamin was a hero who fought to keep Nigeria united. His elevated degree of individual drive and determination, which were his central attributes, assumed play a significant role during the conflict. Benjamin successfully developed the division from the beginning effectively, including himself in the enlistment, and to the great extent Yorubas, whom he got from civilian population, made up of merchants, students, hooligans, fugitives, and surprisingly, prison detainees, whom he groomed into a formidable force. Brigadier General Alabi Isama, in his book, The Tragedy of Victory, on the spot account of the Nigerian Biafra War in the Atlantic Theatre on page 101, states, and I quote, "Adekunle came up with the idea that we should take a chance of letting them go back to their home, but those who wanted to be recruited into the 3rd Marine Commando, they should be allowed to do so. That was terrifying, but it worked. Adekunle addressed them on One Nigeria. Many opted to join the 3rd Marine Commando surprisingly. Only 20 out of 400 opted to go back because of their aged parents. So, we sent them to the sea training school at Atimbo." Men and officials of the 3rd Marine Commando battled with more noteworthy energy and assurance because the fear of death by Colonel Adekunle was always in their minds. His strategy during the war to prevent Nigeria from disintegration was the blockade he formed to also prevent Biafra having access to food and weapons. However, Obasanjo, in his book My Command, an account of the Nigerian Civil War 1967 to 1970 on page 2, stated that Adekunle had 3 regiments entrusted with the seaborne arriving in Bonny on July 26, 1967, an essential need in the general government objective of circling Biafra. He set up a good foundation for himself as a splendid and speedy-thinking battle officer, equipped for consolidating creative preparation with dangerous daringness in execution. His soldiers' prosperity at Bonny was hashed on October 18, 1967, with the seizure of Calabar. By April 1968, the whole southeastern region had been freed. In addition to this, Benjamin Adekunle's soldiers drove north with over 40,000 soldiers under his command as a significant strategy indeed to remove Biafra from the seacoast. He set off a land, water and air attack strategy in Port Harcourt. With this holistic strategy, Benjamin Adekunle guided the 15th Brigade to catch on air with 2 forces, and Port Harcourt tumbled to the Nigerians on May 12, 1968. This activity's importance could not possibly be more significant. Major General James Olunleye, in his book Military Leadership in Nigeria 1966 to 1979, stated on page 48 that, and I quote, "Following Nsukka, the main outstanding progress of the government troops on July 26 was the capture of Bonny Oil Terminal in land and/or water-capable landing, depicted as splendidly arranged and executed. and the first of his sorts of any point endeavored by African soldiers. The fall of Benin to federal powers, driven by Lieutenant Colonel Benjamin Adekunle, was critical. It did not just give the federal government control over primary waterway leading to Port Harcourt. However, it likewise removed one of the more radical principal negotiating advantages in any future discussion with oil organizations. Since every division had its own international arms acquisition agent, Adekunle was undaunted in his quest for the best materials for his soldiers, carefully directing the securing and installing of arms and equipment to the last detail. His commitment to prosperity of his men under his command helped in bringing the best out in them. He inspired both fear and respect in his soldiers. According to Alabi Isama on page 125 of his book, he states, and I quote, "Adekunle warned the troops against looting, stressing that 3rd Marine Commando was locked in, so whatever was looted could not be taken anywhere, and that one might die the next day. He also warned against forced intercourse on women. Adekunle emphatically told the troops that you may find yourself in the hands of those you cause pains. I would not describe Adekunle and officers and men of the 3rd Marine Commando as angels, but they were not devils." Adekunle seemed merciful and insightful while managing the majority of the vanquished domains and the treatment of the Biafran detainees of war. During that time, markets, hospitals and schools were reopened, and orphans were cared for. This can be corroborated by the account of Alabi Isama. Alabi Isama, who was part of the 3rd Marine Commando, who asserted that we looked after civilians and Biafrans alike. We fed the Biafrans, clothed them, recruited them, treated their wounds in our hospitals and clinics, and those who wanted to go back to Biafra were allowed to go. Adekunle was associated with the remarkable strong determination. He commanded an army that was largely made up of volunteers who had no prior military training and turned themselves into brave soldiers within some months. After securing the secessionist states, southern and eastern borders in July, Adekunle was prepared to make his first move into Iboland and began to push towards Owerri. In September 1968, he developed and launched Operation OAU, which resulted in the simultaneous capture of Owerri, Aba, and Umuahia. Adekunle had boasted widely about his intentions to quickly take over the rest of Biafra, somewhat intoxicated by his sense of importance and under serious illusions about his competence. Adekunle was particular about the importance of capturing Owerri by the Federal Army. This was based on the belief that if the city was captured, it will help in the capture and arrest of General Ojukwu, the Biafran head of state. Adekunle and his colleagues, Lieutenant Colonel Godwin Alabi Isama, Lieutenant Colonel Alani Akirinade, Major Yemi Alabi, Major Alimi Ogunkomi, fought bravely in the Midwest, capturing Escravos, Burutu, Uronibe, Owan Aladima, Bomadi, Patani, Koko, Sapele, Achabodudu, Wari, Uveli, Umutuanitaga were also captured. Adekunle employed a scorpion bite strategy to win the Nigerian Civil War, and this was responsible for being nicknamed the Black Scorpion. This type of military strategy, according to 2014 Premium Times publication, as controversial as it may appear, did not only help in celebrating and mystifying the figure of Adekunle, but also laid the foundation for Nigeria's contemporary crisis and threw a wedge into the national fabric. Victor Omololu Onloloyo, the former governor of Oyo State, describes Benjamin Adekunle as, and I quote, "The well-known Black Scorpion is a very capable officer because he is an all-rounder. He does not delegate authority to subordinates. He was fond of fabricating information, which his subordinates later perfected and used against him. He is fluent in the major Nigerian languages as well as many dialects, which all contributed to the success of his duty during the Civil War. His greatest flaws are his lack of management and disregard for simple tactics for real stability in hostile territory." Nigeria's sense of morality suffered as a result of Adekunle's reputation for barbarism. Momo claims that the simple sighting of Adekunle ingrained fear of death. According to The Guardian, Adekunle and the Nigerian government might not have had the intention of carrying out this decimation, yet this was what it turned out to be. Adekunle's strategy almost annihilated the whole 3rd Division in October 1968 during its operation in Owerri, Aba and Umuahia. Nevertheless, his undeniable inconsistent conduct incited a surge of grumblings, and General Gowon was compelled to apologize on his behalf. His reckless comments and other ugly remarks helped in denting his reputation before the international community. Alabi Isama opined that Adekunle was replaced as a result of a series of crises that culminated in the failed ambush that affected the divisional commander. It is believed that Adekunle had become so popular with the entire people of Nigeria that he had assumed the status of the hero of the Civil War. Adekunle had captured part of the Midwest, including Warri, and also Escravos, Boni, Calabar, Odupani, Ugep, Ogubra, Ikom, Ekan, Obang, Oron, Uyo. In short, the present Cross River, Akwa Ibom, Bayelsa, and Rivers State of Nigeria. Be it as it may, Adekunle was replaced as a result of one crisis or the other during this period. Brigadier General Olunleye, in his book on page 135, states thus, and I quote, "The panel recommended that all field commanders be relieved so that tribal meaning would not be read into the changes. The famous 3rd Marine Commando hand was crippled at the time, and it needed to be rebuilt with reinforcements of all kinds. The Black Scorpion hand wears out completely. When he couldn't return to the front lines for fear of his life, he became unpopular among the ranks of his division. Thus, the only way Gowon could solve the trouble he had in keeping Adekunle as the main commander was to, on May 12, 1969, relieve Adekunle and 2 other commanders, Colonels Ibrahim Haruna and Mohammed Shua, of their positions. Gowon replaced Benjamin Adekunle with another officer from Yorubaland, Colonel Olusegun Obasanjo, a former military head of state and civilian president. Obasanjo's priority then was to restore the morale of his troops and return the men to the semblance of the fighting force that produced officers and men imbibed with loyalty and harmony between the military and civilian, contrary to Adekunle, who created an image that Nigerian army was a bloodthirsty genocidal army. Obasanjo acknowledged the intention of surrendering to the federal government by Colonel Philip F. Young, the soldier who succeeded Ojukwu as Biafran head of state after Ojukwu escaped in January of 1970. A writer of The Guardian believed that there must be casualties between the two sides in a war, Nigerian troops and Biafran. This statement underlined was made in context of the war's victorious conclusion. This brings to light the main reason he risked his life to confront secessionists. Adekunle was described by Major General Mohammed Chris Ali in his book, The Federal Republic of Nigerian Army, The Siege of a Nation. He says, and I quote, "He remains one of the most indefatigable, physically and mentally versatile warriors the nation and the army have produced. Nigeria's Napoleon or Shaka the Zulu without a personal empire. At critical times of national anxiety, during the Civil War, he repeatedly gave Nigeria hope and certainty with his predictions and victories on the battlefront. Till today, the powers that he pretended that the Black Scorpion can be denied his monumental contribution and place in history. However, the history of the Civil War will be written, and by whosoever, Brigadier General Benjamin Maja Adekunle will live forever in the hearts of all Nigerians as a tiny great soldier who, amongst others, won the war to keep Nigeria one. Generals like him, and there are very few, must be stunned by our lack of professionalism today. He concretely paved the way for Biafran's subsequent surrender. He remained one of the most revered and internationally acclaimed warrior commander of the Civil War." Adekunle was promoted to substantive colonel and appointed Director of Training and Planning at the sector headquarters, a position he held until the end of the Civil War. Benjamin Adekunle was elevated to Brigadier General in 1972. The tactical system effectively utilized his critical thinking capacities, which named him the regulatory empire accountable for decongesting the Lagos port, which had a well-established issue with imported merchandise leeway. Adekunle was said to have been immensely successful. However, Adekunle began having problems with soldiers after being obstructed. This alluded to a gathering of officials who laid the basis of the future strength of the Nigerian Army's higher positions by those of the northern Muslim extraction. In the United Kingdom, they referenced Adekunle's name in the trial of a Nigerian finance minister named Iyabo Olorunkoya for global arms trafficking. Subsequently, he was suspended before retiring. Adekunle claimed he was set up and not given a fair hearing by the military authorities who influenced the Adekunle Should Go campaign, orchestrated by his rivals on the service. In a declassified US State Department dispatch from 1976, his propensity for stepping on toes that turned many individuals against him, ultimately prompting his compulsory retirement from the Nigerian Armed Forces on August 20, 1974. After his forceful retirement, he kept close to the military regime that succeeded Gowon. He influenced the supply of aircraft, military equipment, and massive food to the People's Movement of the Liberation of Angola (MPLA) group in Angola in February 1976. However, with time, his contacts inside the civilian and military administration dwindled.
Colonel Adekunle has been ordered to leave the Ivory Coast. Was this because of pressure from the Nigerian government?
Nigerian government doesn't pressurize anyone. We're only used to persuasive way of doing things. I don't think the government pressurized them. Ivory Coast. Ivory Coast is an independent country in her own rights, and we do comply with the charter of the OAU.
Would you like to see Adekunle back in Nigeria?
I must tell you one thing, that Nigeria observes very much the fundamental human rights. If he wants to come under that, it's welcome. I don't think Nigerian government will ever object to him coming. And I do sincerely say so.
Would he face charges if he did return to Nigeria?
We shall leave that to time. No one has been charged so far, to my knowledge.
Your future plans, have you any plans at all to be a leader of the Nigerian state, politically?
That is too personal. I don't know. I couldn't answer it.
Do you intend to stay in the army?
Of course I intend to. I've got 11 more years to do.
At the moment you have no political
ambition or inhibition now.
You're known as the Black Scorpion. Do you object to this?
It's just an ordinary name. My name is Benjamin Adekunle. That's all I know.
Adekunle never campaigned for any political position or was named to any public position. He resided discreetly in Surulere area of Lagos District and his hometown of Obomosho. Adekunle died on September 13, 2014, at the age of 78. He was laid to rest at the Vaults and Gardens in Ikoyi, Lagos. He was married to Mrs. Comfort Folake Adekunle, with whom he had 4 children: Adelaja, Kola, Busola, and Omolora Adekunle. Thanks for watching this video, guys. I would really love to know your thoughts about the controversial history of Brigadier Benjamin Adekunle. Please leave your comments in the comment section down below. Don't forget to like this video and subscribe to the channel and turn on the notification button to get more content like this about African history. It's with Nnamdi from Afroverse Historic. See you in the next video.